Okay, welcome to Astrology Academy, and we're here today talking about money and astrology. And I'm your astrologer, Jody Williams. Start over again. Um, I think when I was younger, of course, I was looking at astrology like, tell me where I can make $1 million, you know? And what I soon came to find out is that money, of course, like in life, I guess, is very complicated in astrology. And one of my teachers had pointed out that sort of the path that we're on for money may be very different. For example, somebody like Princess Diana is not going to be looking to her chart to see what kind of job she should get or whether she's going to get that next promotion. I mean, her money is going to be more complicated. It's going to be, through inheritances and government avenues and that sort of thing. And that's why the chart is broken down into all these different avenues for money, first of all. Um, for example, your second house, a lot of people look at the second house, but that's cash, assets, jewelry, um, things that you can like physically carry with you that are money, like gold bars. And that's why it represents your purse, because you can like grab your purse with your wallet in it. And so the second house I tend to think of in that way. It's my purse, things I can put in my purse and carry with me, like, again, jewelry, cash, that sort of thing. Liquidity, in other words. Because if all your money's tied up in the stock market, it's not going to be reflected in the second house. Then you've got, of course, real estate money, money through trust, inheritances, land, houses, commercial properties, all that comes out of the fourth house. Family money is the fourth house, which you hear a lot online. I know about generational wealth, that kind of thing. That's fourth house. When money's being passed down generation to generation through these kind of like trusts and wills and all that kind of thing, even wills are the fourth house. The fifth house is speculation money. That's gambling, going to the track, as well as the stock market. They both come out of the fifth house because they're both speculation. So money where there's an investment and a risk is going to come out of the fifth house. And brokering comes out of the fifth house. For example, if you're a realtor and you're like a real estate broker, that's going to be fifth house. And a lot of people will look to the sixth house thinking it's a job, but it's really not, because when you're brokering, it's more self-employment, but you're acting as a go-between. So it's actually the fifth house. And there's a reason why it ties into the lover's house, of course, with the fifth house, and entertainment is because risk, speculation, and also brokering is very much about relationships, and it's also fun and entertainment. Um, and then, of course, you do have the sixth house of jobs, when there's a paycheck, 9 to 5 kind of a thing, where you're doing job interviews and resumes and that sort of manual labor is the sixth house. If you're a housekeeper or a bartender or a maid or, those kind of labor, blue collar kind of jobs are the sixth house. Farming, believe it or not, is also the sixth house, but that ties a little bit more into the fourth too. So like with farmers, you'll see a little bit of the sixth and the fourth. The seventh house is sales money. Like if you're, say, a car salesman and you own a car dealership, that's seventh house, because you have competitors, and in sales you always have competition. And that's why the seventh house rules that kind of activity if you're selling things, because you have competition, because of course there's other car dealers. So anytime there's competition in sales, it's going to be coming out of seventh house. Eighth house is what they call other people's money. that also is insurance money, tax money, um, loans. Let's say you are trying to get a really big loan for a house. That would be the eighth house is involved because that's the mortgage. But then you also have the fourth house, which is the property itself. And you have to look at both when you're buying a house. You know, one for the mortgage is the eighth, and then of course the fourth is for real estate. And then of course you have the 10th house, which is self-employment, your own business. And it's very much tied, if you think about it, to your fame, your respect, because if you think about a business that an entrepreneur, it is them. It is their reputation, their notoriety running the business. Like if you look at, say, Burt Bees products, you've got the guy's face on his products, which is very much like the 10th because it is tied to the owner or the founder as well as his reputation. And you see a lot of, believe it or not, Jupiter in the 10th with people that are extremely successful using their own self as a brand. For example, I remember Oprah was one of the people that has Jupiter in the 10th. People trust her, so therefore any business that she associates with, like her book club, becomes very successful. Which the 11th house is actually the second house of the 10th. So your income from your business is not the second house of your cash assets. Your income from the business is actually the 11th house. So a common mistake, I certainly did it, is I would look to the second house for the income from the business. That's what you keep. That's the stuff you store away in a savings account somewhere. But the 11th house is your income from the business itself, or from your, whatever. Like, for example, with me doing astrology, my income from astrology would actually be the 11th house. And then you've got the 12th house, which is government money, like Social Security is the 12th house. Tax money in the sense of if you have, say, 401ks, I'm sorry, not taxes, but 401ks is the 12th house. If you're getting, say, disability or unemployment, if I'm doing a reading for someone, for example, that's applying for unemployment or disability, I'm going to be looking to what's going on in the 12th house. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky, though, is that all these things that you're looking at, you have to also tie it to the first house of the person that you're reading, because otherwise it could be someone else's money. For example, let's say I have a very wealthy father. All right. So his money would show up in my chart, but it's not going to be my money. And I've had an opportunity to kind of test this with my daughter because, I've had to, for tax reasons, put money into like her name. And I've always checked to see how does that show up in the charts. And it does actually register in her name, even though she's not touching it. If I'm cycling money through, say, her ABLE account, which is what you can set up for people that are on disability, it will actually show in her chart, even though I'm the one managing the money. So yes, even though the person may not be like touching the money, if it's got their name on it, or it's their account, it will tie to the first, but this is where it gets a little tricky. But essentially, I always look at the first house to make sure that this is the person, that, whether it's my chart or whoever I'm reading, because otherwise it could be their kids' money or their spouse's money or their dad's money, that kind of thing. So I also, when I'm talking to someone and they're asking about money, I always have to look at also two things. For example, let's say they're trying their hand at gambling and astrology, because, okay, I should probably go back to when we first started doing the research, the very first research on gambling and astrology. and computer programs, because it's very complex to calculate all these things at once. So like, Peter was writing like the first programs for when these quote unquote lucky times are, which means like if I've got, say, gambling lucky aspects going and the moon is lighting that up, those calculations of knowing that exact minute that's going to hit not only my chart, but my actual physical location takes a lot of calculations. So we would go out and test these things to see if they would work or not by going to the track and, placing bets, or going to the casino and playing with the slot machine. And one of the most frustrating things is I would win money at these times, but it'd be like $20, and I'd be, or sometimes on a good day, a couple hundred, that kind of thing. So I'd be like frustrated. I'm like, no, I want the big win. And that's when I began to understand that for that, the chart has to show a significant increase at one time. So whatever is going on in a chart is like the level that that person is living at. And when the chart shows an increase in money, you have to look at how much. Are we talking a soft aspect is involved, like sextile, trine, that kind of thing, or even a quincunx? But for someone to significantly, suddenly increase money, there has to be something seriously hard involved, like Pluto or an opposition maybe. Now, some people may think that's like bad, right? But why is my screen beeping at me? But actually, you need those hard aspects in order to get that oomph, to go to a different level. Like, I'm not sure if I can get this computer to show it a chart. Let's give it an example. Like, okay, is there anyone in here right now that we can look at their chart that, say, is getting money from like a job, like a 9 to 5 kind of a job? Anybody can go ahead and unmute. And I'm trying to pull up my chart because I wanted to show you guys something.
Right now, all I can see is your mouse. I can't see your screen.
All right, I'm trying to get a chart right
and
now.
Your date book.
Okay, 8-1. I'm going to try to print out my chart. Can't get it to go on screen. Okay, 12.
I'm also getting money from a 9 to 5.
Okay, you got money from a 9 to 5?
Yeah.
All right, let me pull out mine and then I'll pull up your chart and we'll take a look at it. Now, I got money.
I have a question.
August of 2024 was when I bought the house. I can show you guys what it looks like.
I have a question. You know I'm a problem child.
You're not. That's fine. No, I need the questions. What's your question?
So when I look for money, do I have to look for money like off by my brother and look for money where I'm going to get money off of him? Because I can't see my chart, so to speak.
Well, you'd have to look at both of your charts first of all, because you would have to see if the money's leaving him and then also appearing in your chart. So you check both of them.
Okay.
And that's where I remember talking about the differences. When my daughter's father died, it was in 24, and he left a significant life insurance benefit, but it was in her name. But we had agreed that I was to manage it because my daughter is disabled, and the intent of the money was to buy a house with it. So the money was in her name, but I was the one taking the money and buying the house with it. So the money flow actually did show on both of our charts. And what I'm going to do now is see if I can get it to print, show you an idea of what that looks like. Let's see. If not, I might have to have Rita see if she can pull up, or maybe I can do a screen share. Let me see if I can do a screen share. I'm going to show you guys the chart. Okay, pull it up again. See, if you get somebody who, say, is like a rich heiress, for example, she's not going to have money coming out of her second or her sixth house. She's going to have money coming out of the eighth because she's getting that from somebody who died. And that's kind of the things that you need to look at when you're doing a reading is, you know, where might this money be coming from? Let me see if I